Welcome back to Light the Fuse. We are lighting fuses. We are getting lit. Charles, you lit, bro? You sound lit to me.
Me? Oh yeah, I'm totally I'm lit.
Okay, good. We have to have a baseline level of litness, the litness test, if you will, to get into each episode, and I think you passed it. So
yeah,
how you doing?
Totally. I'm good. Yeah, this is a fun episode. I'm excited to share with everybody because we had this talk with Chiabella months ago now.
Was it before the world ended or after? No, it was after the world ended.
No, it was after the world ended. It was it was an early Zoom call, I think, or maybe it was even Skype. I don't know. And there's some fun surprises in here that we'll let them happen, and then we can talk about them afterwards.
Right.
And before we get into the chat, I wanted to bring up something. Somebody on Twitter, Chase Stanley, brought up this little nugget of info that I did not know. I assume you saw this when we were. I think I retweeted it. He said that the melody of the Mission Impossible theme is in Morse code. If you say it, it's dash dash dot dot dash dash dot dot. You know, if you do like the Mission Impossible theme,
right?
And dash dash dot dot is MI.
Wow.
There you go. Hey.
It makes perfect sense. It seems sort of Morse codey, but I never knew that. So that was huge.
Yeah, pretty fun factoid.
We got anything else to talk about before we get into this interview?
I don't know. I don't really have much else to talk about before the interview. We can talk about a couple things after though.
Okay, well, let's set up who Chiabella is. She's amazing. She is a photographer. She's David James's daughter. So I think they worked on Fallout together, right? And Rogue Nation too, or is it just Fallout?
Yeah, I think Rogue Nation as well. They worked on together, and a few other things. I think that, and she's obviously gone on to a career of her own that's incredibly impressive. We talk about there was a big splashy release of Dune photos. The Denis Villeneuve, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but when there was initial release of all those images from Dune, those were hers, and so we talk about those, which is really cool.
Yeah, it was a Vanity Fair spread, and it was really beautiful, and those were all hers. And she's I think working on the Will Smith movie about Serena Williams's father, and so yeah, she's amazing. She is really fun and smart. She was calling in from London, which was cool. But before we get into the interview, I just wanted to let everyone know, or maybe remind everyone, that this episode is brought to you by Jeremy Dillon, and that you should check out his podcast, My Favorite Album. And this is a podcast where Jeremy Dillon, who is a concert promoter, interviews a different musician, songwriter, actor, or filmmaker about the music they love and how it influenced them in their work. He's talked to people like Rogue Nation co-writer Drew Pearce, Rose McGowan, Bob Odenkirk, John Cryer, Casey Musgraves, and us. So please check his excellent show out. And also we want to let everybody know that this episode is brought to you by John B., as well as Real Estate Interests LLC. And they offer commercial real estate advice for growing companies in addition to just commercial real estate needs. So, he wanted to let us and let you guys know that anybody can consult with them, even if they're not looking to buy or sell. They help companies save and strategize. So if you're looking for anything like that, please contact them. They're Real Estate Interests LLC. And we will be back after the show. But here...
He being, when you say he, that was Emery Matthews. He's one of our Patreon subscribers who has that company.
Yes, and he's great and a huge supporter of the show. So we will be back after the show to wrap things up. But please listen to, I guess, Kevin Blumenfeld's flagrant disregard for copyright and licensing issues. And, I mean, have at it.
All right, well, welcome, Chiabella. We spoke with your father just a couple months ago, and we're big fans of your work. We saw that all the Dune photos that just came out. Those were amazing. Those were all yours, right? The ones that just released.
All but the first one they put out of Timothy was a film screen grab because of the visual effects behind him. So that wasn't an actual still, that was a film grab. But the rest are all mine. It's exciting. It's fun getting to see stuff actually come out into the world when you've been waiting for it for months, you know?
Well, I saw a lot of people online where both men and women were really going for that photo of Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
Where he gave you a little
meme.
look. Yes, yeah. And well, you made some comment on Instagram that he, what was it? You said something about how you love it when an actor like notices you and like gives you a little something. Is that, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, the camera, I think in that, when we actually shot the scene is, you know, probably 2 feet over to my right and about 2 feet above me. I'm just kind of crept into this little gap that I could find that wasn't in anybody's way for the action. And he does have a moment where he turns back to look at somebody, and that is the scene. But, you know, we do enough takes. He knows where I am. He's aware of me without any conversation, because he's a pro and he's lovely. So, you know, he eyes up and without a word, he just, during a take, you know, he'll just kind of take that moment to sort of glide his eyes right directly past my lens, which he doesn't have to do. So I love those moments, and I'm so grateful for them because it saves me from having to kind of, you know, get a little bit more in his face or call for a still and say, hey, you know, I really need one to camera. Can we all just pause for a second? He saves me from having to do that without a word. We get it and it's done. So, yeah, I love those moments.
And that was in the middle of a take?
Yeah. That's it. He took his eyeline past the lens as opposed to over it or ignoring me completely. He just, you know, just gave me that split second. And it's up to me if I catch it or not. Obviously, I need to hit the button at the right moment. But yeah, it's and there are some actors that really will do that without even acknowledging or saying anything like, hey, did you get that? I gave that to you. They'll just give it to you and trust that you'll pick up on it. And he's one of those, and he's fantastic for it.
That's awesome. I saw all these people were saying that they didn't even notice Josh Brolin was in the shot because they were so taken in by him.
Our DP, very sweetly, Greg Fraser, who's incredible. He, in that same post, I think he made a comment about he tried to bring Josh back to the picture. Like, how sexy does Josh Brolin look in this image? Just to, you know, even it out. Josh and Oscar have an amazing sort of, I guess what you refer to as sort of a bromance. They're trouble on set together. You know, they just goof around and kind of take the piss out of each other in the best way. So, yeah, it's lovely to see that continuing, you know, even after we've finished filming.
Right. That's awesome. So I wanted to jump because I actually see that you also were an additional photographer on Rogue Nation. So I wanted to ask how you got started on Mission Impossible.
Yes. Yeah, alongside, you know, the legend that is David James.
How did that
You paid me
begin?
to say that, just for the record. No. Yeah, no, it's, you know, I genuinely love that question. I spent, you know, my childhood and my teen years following him and running around after him on sets with a bag of undeveloped film and a bag of developed film and being his little runaround. And as he turned digital, that was kind of my teen years. So that was really when I started getting into photography and the love of it. So my love came from the digital age, which gave us a really good complement to each other in that I jumped straight into the Photoshop and the editing and the printing and all that. So he could kind of rely on me in those early days before I was really any good at photography to be a sort of a digital assistant. And that was going great. We were a great duo, but I would constantly hear, what a legend, how amazing, he's the best, he's the god of photography, from people like Spielberg, you know, from the Rob Marshalls and the Francis Lawrences and these people that I'm just thinking, I can't live up to that. So I figured I wouldn't even try. And at the end of university, I did the typical post-university panic and said, no, I'm not going to make myself miserable spending the rest of my life trying to fill a pair of shoes that I clearly can't. I'll do something else. I'll do photography for fun. Or, I lived with some dancers at the time, so I started doing dance photography, and I did portrait and all that stuff just for the fun of it. And, little gigs here and there just to kind of, keep the photography alive in me for good measure. But I went a totally different route. I went the production route and worked in production offices and on set, and ended up at the studio in a corporate film job. And all along the way chasing something that never felt quite right. And I moved back to England, the first job available to me. And I kind of moved back on a bit of a whim and was working in a pub just to pay the bills. And my dad came out to the UK to do Force Awakens, and I needed the job, and he needed somebody to help out with this kind of giant stills department that they had because of the nature of those films and what, the Star Wars franchise is. And it just sort of fell back into my lap. And I'm still riding that wave. I haven't jumped off the surfboard, really. It sort of was one of those things where in a kind of heated moment of too much to do and too much going on, and he couldn't be in 2 different places at one time throwing a camera at me because he had trained me and he knew that I would shoot the way he was shooting, throwing a camera at me and saying, this is happening over on the backlight, go shoot this, this is happening there, go shoot that, just to make sure it was covered. And then kind of throughout the production, some of the filmmakers paying attention to some of those photos and some of them making it into selects and books. And at the end of it, the producers were also the Bad Robot producers. And they were very kind of encouraging and supportive of me coming onto the next project and doing it alongside David, which was, that one was Rogue Nation. I sort of joined as... kind of, I guess, as his apprentice photographer. But by that point, I'd already done my apprenticeship with him, and he knew that. So it was more like, now I really want to do this. Now I'm serious, and now I'm going to give you a run for your money and see if I can be better than you. And that was kind of the challenge on Rogue Nation. That was all right, I'm gonna pay attention to all the things I think I don't know and see if I can learn them from you and ask all the right questions. And fortunately, Mr. Cruise is a family man and, saw that this apprenticeship, this father-daughter team was happening and was incredibly supportive of it. So he would let me shoot and he would, encourage it, which has turned out very well.
Yeah.
You were on The Mummy as well, right, with Cruise?
Yeah. That was sort of a nice kind of a career break for me, which was courtesy of Tom again, but also... at the end of, I can't remember the order of things anymore. But David had already signed on to do the next Star Wars. So he wasn't available when The Mummy was going to go. And I remember sitting in an airport in New Orleans on Jack Reacher. And we had some sort of big production move. So we were all just sitting in this empty terminal and... Tom was sat with us chatting, and he just very casually out of nowhere looked at me and said, "So you're going to shoot The Mummy, right?" And I remember, it was sort of, we were sitting in a triangle, and Tom was opposite me, and my dad was to my left, and I just sort of was like looking over my shoulder, going, "Was it me?" And my dad just nodding, like, "Speak, say yes." So I tried to act really cool, and I was like, yeah, of course. Sure. I'll do that. No problem. And inside, partially dying out of fear, but also going, oh my God, really? What? You want me to do this without David? So, yes, I shot The Mummy.
That's amazing.
I have to say, I'm pretty sure that, the marketing and the publicity teams at the studio who had never heard of me other than as David James's kid, I think excuse my language, were probably shitting themselves when they were told, this is who Cruise wants. I think they all kind of went, wait, what? No, excuse me? Who is she? What has she done? He took a risk on me, and as did they. And And the photo editor at Universal really had my back, and she'd known me a long time, so she really kind of fought for me as well. So I'd like to think I proved myself and did them proud. So
that's awesome.
Still here, so that's a good sign, I guess.
What was the what did you do on what sequences did you shoot for Rogue Nation?
I was there for all of it.
All of it, okay.
So you're gonna have to forgive me because a lot of the crew carry over between the missions, and because they're quite long productions, and those Rogue Nation and Fallout were not that far apart, I do get the two confused in terms of my timeline.
Right.
We came on to Rogue Nation a little bit late. I think David might have explained that we were finishing on Star Wars, and Star Wars went a little bit long, like a few weeks long. So the overlap meant that we finished Star Wars before we started on Mission. So Mission had already shot their Morocco and Vienna sequences before we started on the film. And then we picked up from basically all of the UK shoot through the end of the film. So we missed, the Vienna Opera House, which, looking back at that film, would have been such a beautiful scene to photograph. But
right,
it's the nature of it.
Drew is telling me that you did the character posters for Fallout.
Unintentionally. I think of maybe the 10 or 11 that they put out of the individual characters, about 9 of them were from my unit shoot. So that was, again, fun to see. You don't, especially when you're shooting alongside David, you don't expect that. And then the posters, they don't kind of, tell you. You turn everything over at the end of the film, and as the photographer, you don't then know what's happening until a picture is in the news, or it's released, or it's a poster on the side of a bus. So you get to share that moment with everybody. When they started coming out, it was like, wait, what? Oh my God, yay, those are mine. So it was pretty awesome. And then also the posters are really cool because they're, the really exciting moment for me was the Jack Reacher poster, because that was the first time David and I had a combined one sheet. And that was, God, I'd spent my whole life thinking I couldn't live up to this guy. And here we had a shared Tom Cruise one sheet. What? That just didn't sink in. So then to have them on the Fallout as well was really, really cool. Really cool.
So when you shared it, there's just some elements of it are yours and some of it are his?
Yeah. So actually, perfect example, ICG Magazine just did a feature in the April issue of the set to one sheet. So using unit stills for the one sheets, which Cruise is a big fan of. He's not a huge fan of doing these kind of separate, stylized special shoots against a backdrop. He'd rather use what we're shooting in the action. So I think there's maybe 3 or 4 one sheets, not the character ones, but the kind of overall posters, which is just a combination of faces and characters, are a mix of both David and my photographs. And there's specifically one in that feature, which is kind of a silhouette outline of Tom. And then in the middle of it is him hanging from the helicopter. So the helicopter shot...
That's my favorite poster.
Okay, well, so the helicopter shot is David and the silhouette of Tom is mine. So that was,
that's awesome.
It's really fun to look at that and share that with him. It's not lost on me how unique he and I are in terms of being, first of all, a stills duo. I don't think that exists in our industry. But then also to be father-daughter it's very cool for us, so...
He told us that he could not go on the plane for the Halo jump. So, were you on the plane? You didn't jump out of the plane with them, did you?
No, unfortunately. Okay. Unfortunately. When we first got there was talk about... I got along very well with the jump team, with the Halo jump team, who were all amazing, and they'd all been brought together from different aspects. They're all competitive skydivers. They do like the backflips and all the crazy stuff. And I got along very well with them, and it was safety first with all of them. And I think they were probably used to a lot of film crew just being like, look, just tell me how to get my job done. That's all I want to know. Whereas I was like, so when can I take my belt off? And how can I get closer to the action? And can I just go 1 foot closer to the open edge? Just 1 foot. I think by the end of the second week, they'd built me a tether, because the whole point of being there is to shoot them jumping. And if I can't jump with them, which for all kinds of reasons I couldn't, you'd have to teach me how to skydive. Then you'd have to get me specifically trained to jump while shooting. Most of them, what they do is they have a GoPro on their helmet. That's not what I do, because there are guys who do that. So right. We did set up, there is a poster of him jumping, which it did come from one of the GoPros, that on one of the jumps we set the GoPro to do stills and we pulled screen grabs from the GoPros. But yeah, there was no version of me actually jumping with a camera. So really the point then for me being there is to get the lead up and the build up and prove that it is him in the plane and it's him doing these, like 5 jumps a day that he's doing and gearing up for it. So when we got on the plane and they kind of said, okay, you can sit here, it's a massive cargo plane, these C-17s. And I'm at the far back of it and he's at the other end jumping out. Oh, well, that's not a very good photo. That's like a little tiny silhouette that could be against a green screen. No one's going to believe that. So yeah, I kind of kept going, well, can I just go there? Can I just go like 2 feet further? So I eventually had this tether that they tied to the base of the plane, and it allowed me to walk up and down the length of the plane and kind of follow him during his rehearsals in the plane. And then when they opened up the tail, I was able, because everyone else has to strap in if they're not parachuted, which I wasn't parachuted. So I was tethered, I was strapped to the plane, and it eventually gave me enough length to walk to the end of the open ramp, which was epic. Absolutely epic. Terrifying for the first 2 or 3 flights. You're trying to... I've never done skydiving or scuba diving before, so I've never really had to deal with an oxygen tank. That was new to me. So on the first couple goes, you're like, how do I do this? And how do I make sure I'm breathing? And, they put the fear of God in you. So you're like, oh God, I'm going to get the bends and I'm going to die. And anytime you giggle, you think you've got the bends. But really, it's just an absolute thrill. So, yeah, eventually I kind of got a little more confident and I spoke to the team and I was like, okay, tell me what the worst scenario is and what happens if the tether breaks and I go flying out the back of the plane. And our head trainer just looked at me like, you know what? I'm really glad you asked that question. It's actually good that you asked. And obviously they had taken every precaution and that was never going to happen. But it was a mental thing of knowing, all right, if this happens, they were telling me I needed to flatten out because that makes you fall slightly slower, which then they could, there's always one person left in the plane to dive after you. So then they dive at speed and they catch up with you. And the harness they'd given me had a big kind of loop on it that they would then link to, and they could drop in tandem. So you then use their parachute. And fortunately, it didn't. We never had to go there. I stayed within the plane. But it's still an adrenaline rush to be standing there on the tail, the open tail at 20-some thousand feet, looking down at Abu Dhabi, and watching. Not just Tom Cruise, but, when you've done that many films with him and you're working with him day in, day out, he becomes less the movie star Tom Cruise, and he's your boss. He's the guy that you work with all day, every day. So it becomes more personal, and I'm sitting there watching my boss just jump out the plane. I mean, the first time he did it, the first time we went up for a test flight, and on this one I was strapped in at the back, and I was just there to kind of observe. Although, of course, I took a camera with me. And but they didn't harness or anything because I was going to be strapped in. And I was, instead of having a personal oxygen mask, I was attached to the group big oxygen tank that, when you're strapped to the seats, you can all connect to it. And 2 things happened on that initial flight. First, the tail opened. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, this is amazing. Like, I'm in a plane with the tail open at, I think we were 18,000 feet for one of the first flights. And I'm like, this is incredible. I've never been in one of these planes, and this is, everything about this is special. And I'm just taking it all in, and he gets up because he's parachuted and ready to go jump. And he turns around and he just looks at me, and it's very loud up there, so there's no chat. You can't just have a normal conversation. and he's got his mask on and everything. And he just makes eye contact with me, and he points at me and does the kind of come here finger and points at the middle of the plane saying, come take a picture, I'm going to pose for you. And I looked left of me and right at me at the skydivers kind of going, well, that means I have to undo my seatbelt and I have to take my oxygen mask off to get there. So we're all kind of looking at each other, and he's walked off. He's gone to go stand where he's going to stand for this great image. And I just remember one of the, on one side of me is the safety instructor, and the other side of me was the medic, the nurse. And the two of them, between them, like one held on to me and the other was like, breathe in to give me as much oxygen as possible so I could just kind of run to the middle of the plane, duck down, hope to dear God that my settings are right, shoot off 2 or 3 frames, and then run back to the oxygen mask and plug back into my seat. Which in retrospect really was not that drastic, but for me, having been up there just for my first time, thought this was life or death. But it was great, and we got an awesome picture from it, and it was, that's part of the adrenaline and the thrills of working with him, that moments like that happen. And then then I watched him walk to the end of the plane, and just, he was there one moment, and the next moment I was looking at empty sky, and he's gone. It completely took my breath away. I was like, oh my God, what's happening? Where did he go? And then, we land the plane, we get off, and I see him standing there with his helmet off and his parachute open, laughing. Hey, it was a great jump. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? And then, the days go by, you do it 5 times a day, and you start to get a lot more confident and a lot more relaxed. And as I said, by the end of it, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to come stand up here with you and fist bump you as you jump out. Great, cool.
Was one of those shots the cover of Total Film?
The cover of Total Film was a little bit of a special.
Okay.
Because of the nature of going up in those planes and the kind of protocol you have to go through for obvious safety reasons, we didn't have time when we were up there to do something like that, where we'd have all the red lights on and we'd be able to just kind of take our time with a still with nobody behind him, with a clean plane, because obviously when we do the actual takes, there are camera guys and there are, the actual military guys who are functioning the plane around us. So realistically, it didn't work to do it in the air. And because it's just a still towards camera, we didn't need it to be in the air. So no, we tried every day. For the weeks that we were out there, we tried every day to get a window at the end of the day where he had done all of his jumps. But that would mean the plane then, so he jumps, lands in the landing zone. The plane then comes back around and lands where it needs to land. He gets transported back to our base and then has to come back to the plane, de-rig the actual parachute, etc., and then come pose for a photo. So it was a lot of logistics to try and make that happen, and I think we finally got it on like the last night, where we lit all the lights with, we turned on the red, and he came and gave us 5 minutes on the plane. So.
It's a great shot. It's an amazing cover.
Also, I love that shot.
Yeah.
I'm really, proud of that one. That has good memories behind it as well.
Did Henry Cavill ever do the jump?
He never did the jump. He was on the plane with us. I think there was an insurance factor that prevented him. I know he was very eager to, and almost frustrated every time we did a take that he couldn't, which I understand. I alongside him, I wanted to go. Every time you watch them all jump out, you just want to run with them. But I'm pretty sure insurance prevented that.
You have a series of on Instagram of photographs of Simon Pegg giving you the finger. So this is just an inside joke between the two of you, where he just likes to give you the finger?
I guess it's sort of an inside joke. Not so inside anymore, though the world now gets to share. I don't actually know where it started. I can't remember which was the first one. But he was always very aware of me, and Simon is great. He's very easygoing, so he doesn't get sort of clammed up if the camera is nearby, even if he's just relaxing between takes. So he'd always sort of be aware of me, but rather than just ignore me, he would, register that you're there, but he would do it in his comedic way, and he would just kind of, right when I least expect it, kind of turn his head and flash me the finger, which obviously was very funny, and we'd have a giggle, and then I'd show him the picture afterwards, and we'd laugh about how funny the picture is because everyone around him looks serious and he's flipping me off. Both of us knowing that there's never a day or a time when those pictures are going to be used. There's no, when you market a film like Mission Impossible, that's not the kind of image you're looking for. So it became, a little bit of an inside joke. And he just started to do it whenever he saw a good opportunity. And it turned out that the series of photos that came from it were all very, I think they only put 3 or 4 of them on that post. There's like right. 20 of them. Him in the water, him on the boat, him just anywhere and everywhere. My favorite is the one that I think is one of the posts. There's one of him with the Wolf Blitzer mask on, so you don't even know that it's Simon unless you've seen the series of photos. And then there's another one where he's kind of flipping me off behind his back, and I love that one because he obviously wasn't facing me, so I really wasn't expecting it. And the only reason he was in the frame to begin with was because I was shooting over him onto the cast that he was talking to, because that's, that was the scene that we were shooting. We were shooting the opposite direction. But he knew I was there. So in the middle of a take, while we are rolling cameras and while he is delivering lines, he's still got enough sense to literally just put his hand behind his back and flip me off. That's my absolute favourite. He took it to a whole new level. Rebecca does a few as well. I've got a handful of Rebecca, which she then carried across into June as well. So I've got a handful of her doing the same on June.
Yeah, your dad said that you and Rebecca have a good bond, like a friendship.
Yeah, she's my best friend. She is my best friend.
So what's she like?
Awful, horrible girl. Just such a pain in the ass. I say that knowing she'll probably listen to this. No, she's. How do I describe her? I mean, I'm slightly biased. She's. I'll answer that as a photographer to an actress, for the sake of this. She has such enthusiasm for the roles that she plays. So she really genuinely cares about what she brings to each scene, each line, each word, the emphasis she puts on it, the tone, every little detail she pays attention to. And she carries that across into how she is on set. She cares about everyone in the room. Sometimes too much, she goes to such lengths and efforts for everyone. But she puts her heart and soul into it. It's incredible to watch because then, and I've seen other crew experience this, so this isn't even a biased response. She's the kind of actress who, when she does a take in an emotional scene, the crew will be crying on set. You don't need the music or the editing to pull out that performance. Like, they'll yell cut and the whole crew's just looking at each other like, what did I just witness? That was incredible. So she's hypnotizing. And as a photographer photographing her, you look at her face, it's easy. The camera loves her, and she's got this sort of unusual look. She's obviously stunning, but she's interesting. And slightly different angles. I get slightly different tones and reactions, and so it never gets boring. I could photograph her face all day, every day, which fortunately sometimes I get to do. And she's giving. I obviously, being friends, she hears more from me what a photographer needs, and she gets kind of the inside scoop from me about what I'm looking for because we have those conversations. But she just, if I'm in her eye line, she'll look at what the scene is, and if she knows it's a good picture, she will find a way to work with me in her eye line. She'll battle through anything. I always say, when people make fun of me for halfway jumping out of planes or, doing zero gravity or crawling on a muddy urine-soaked Persian floor to get a picture, and everyone kind of goes, what are you doing? My response is anything to get the good shot. She's the same way. She will give you anything and everything to get the best performance and the best shot out of it. So she's a dream. All right, I'm not saying anything else nice about her. I'm done. It'll become a gushing session.
That's a great answer. I wanted to ask about. There are a couple of shots that that you did that are so great. I love this photo. I hope you can see it of Tom Cruise.
Oh,
it's
yes,
like
that was a
Dutch
cold
angle,
night.
like from him, like next to that brick wall, holding the gun. Can you see it?
Yeah, I do. I see. I remember it vividly.
I love that shot.
Remember what I was saying about
great
rolling
question,
around
Charles.
in muddy, urine-soaked streets to get a good shot? It's a great example. I think we shot that.
So where was that?
We shot that somewhere in East London, under a bridge, in night. You know, in the actual middle of the night. I think it must have been January or February in London, which is cold. Pretty sure it was raining, and it's an area that, you know, nobody usually visits. It's like these underground tunnel areas, which are filthy and stink, and they're not the nicest place to be, but they look great on camera. They look fantastic in the scene for, you know, Mission Impossible. It's a cold, wet, damp evening. But, you know, there's another one of those where most of that scene is he's looking the other way. There's a very split second where we get him coming around the corner, and the best angle is usually saved for a camera and for obvious reasons. So yeah, that's one of those ones where you're just holding and waiting for that split second where he just takes a second to look around the corner and right at you. But
Were you there when he broke his ankle?
I was very close. A little too close.
What was that like?
Oh, confusing. It's the best way I could describe it. If you've seen any of the kind of paparazzi footage from that day, he comes across the rooftop and he jumps and he lands on this opposite roof, and there is a camera with a camera operator, a focus puller, and myself. And we are huddled together, because obviously we're in the other camera's shot, so eventually they have to paint that little kind of huddle of us out. And because it's an open roof, there is no barrier on it. All three of us are very heavily tied in to, it's like a harness that you're then connected to, and the harness is then connected to, I can't remember what it was that they had on the roof, but it's planted into the rooftop. So you're basically connected to the top of the building so that if you slip, you're not going to fall off the side of it, obviously. And we did several takes, and he, perfectionist that he is, anytime, even if it looked great to us, if he didn't quite nail it or he didn't quite get close enough to the roof, or if he went too far, it was like, nope, let's do it again, no matter how many times, let's get this right. So, we'd done it enough times that we kind of knew what to expect. And on the ones where he was happy enough with the landing, he would get up and then run past our camera. And then he would stop maybe 2 feet behind us, turn himself around, swing back across, and do it again. So there's a point where you kind of go, okay, I know what's going to happen. The surprise factor is taken out. I know what I'm looking for. I know what my moment is. And there is padding on the edge of that rooftop for obvious reasons. He's got to land on it. So they've created a sort of padded edge. But the window below is not padded because he's not meant to hit that. So on that final take, he did his run across and he jumps over. And I think what happened was on every take before it, the reason he wasn't quite getting far enough was because he wasn't meant to kick a leg out. He just sort of jumps in this kind of spread leg position without kind of, I don't know how to describe that, but doing a sort of swimming motion to get himself further. And I think he instinctively put the foot out to try and get that inch further. And when he landed obviously too far, and his foot took the brunt of it, but he went down on the corner. We couldn't see the foot, so we had no idea that that's what he'd done. We just saw him hit the roof that we were on. And the grunt and expletive that came out of him was a very... Like, I remember having, my head to the camera and go, okay, here's my moment. And then he hit, and I instinctively put the camera down. It was like I knew something wasn't right. But he got up. So we were kind of like, oh, okay, no, he's fine. And he got up, and then he just as he came past our camera, he fell down because obviously the foot was broken. And he kind of landed on our camera operator. And I think all three of us were just like, how do we help him? None of us can move. All three of us are like, I can't move an inch without getting up and disconnecting myself, which obviously I can't do because I'm on a rooftop. So all three of us are kind of like, are you okay? And he didn't say a word, not a word. He got up, he stood up, he brushed himself off. And I'm now at this point, I'm looking across to the stunt coordinators who've seen him continue the shot. So they're all kind of thinking, oh, that looked like it hurt, but he seems to be okay. There isn't any panic on the other side of the building. And I'm kind of looking over. I remember his stunt double getting ready to receive him back. And I'm thinking, he shouldn't be jumping back. Like, wait, no. Like, I kind of remember making some ridiculous hand motion at this guy, going like, no, don't do it. But he did. He turned himself around. He swung back across and kind of, I think at that point they realized he wasn't okay. And they caught him and escorted him off to get him taken care of. But yeah, I think we were all just like, what just happened? Is he okay? Is he not okay? What's going on? Yeah, crazy. And then all of a sudden, we're all kind of like waiting to hear. Did he sprain it? Did he break a toe? Is he completely out? What's happened? So I think there was a good half hour before they said, okay, let's wrap for the day. We'll get back to you about the rest. And I think we were down for about, God, I can't remember how long we had our hiatus for. But the turnaround, though, for the fracture that he had, apparently is like the fastest turnaround of healing ever, of course. I mean,
of course.
You're Tom Cruise. You're going to, even a broken foot, you're going to do it right,
So, so what's next for you? What's going on? Are you, I guess everything's on hold right now.
Oh, I wish any of us knew. I was in the middle, well, not quite the middle. We were about a third of the way through a production that I was shooting in LA. It was a Will Smith film about the
Williams
sisters' father. Let me phrase that right. So Richard Williams, their father, was their coach and teacher and mentor. And so it's his story. But yeah, until someone gives us some answers, I think we're all in a bit of a confused state at the moment. Hoping to be back to work soon, getting stir crazy and ready for it.
Were you supposed to come back for 7 and 8?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
They were in Venice when I was in LA. They were the first to, obviously, because they were in the heart of it. They were the first to they led the way for the rest of us when they shut down. I remember talking to Rebecca, who was like, I think we're all going home. What are you talking about? And it turned out they were in the heart of the kind of, I guess it hit there first. Venice kind of got hit heavily. So,
wow,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Drew, do you have any other questions, Drew, you want to ask, or should we ask the big tough ones?
I think it's time for the big ones.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and I think that I'm looking forward to your responses on these.
Okay.
First of all, Charles's wife just cut his hair, so you can critique his hair all you want, but we want to know.
I just cut my boyfriend's hair last week, for the record.
And how did it go?
Surprisingly well. He loves it.
Okay, great. Charles likes his haircut too, I think.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah.
No, it looks good. You know what he said? He says he likes the rough look.
Oh, okay.
So it worked out for me.
That's a good compliment. Yeah. We want you though to rank Tom Cruise's hairstyles through the Mission Impossible movies.
Ooh.
So you gotta make the decision. Are you going long hair, short hair?
I think I'm going to go with 3.
Really?
I like the short with a little bit of length in the front.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of the long hair.
Okay.
I think
so you don't like
it
2 or
really
4?
suits him when he's more cropped and groomed.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
What do people
So that would be
usually
3.
say? What's the kind of popular choice here?
Oh, it's
there's
it's
2
all
camps.
over the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I know some people really like the long hair on him. I like the sort of, but I think that's probably me in general. I like the groomed kind of, I don't know, classic Tom Cruise, Top Gun Tom Cruise, you know.
Right. Well, here's the other big question we have is, can you rank the movies from your favorite to your least favorite?
Number 1 favorite, flat out. The first one is without a doubt my favorite. It was the darkest, you know, it was the grittiest, it was the most complicated. Mm-hmm. I went to film school, the whole kind of theory and analysis, and it takes me 5 minutes of watching a movie to tell you who the killer is. So I like the movies that test me a little bit, challenge me. So definitely number 1. And then, that's hard. I think 2 and 3 are probably on a par for me. I'd probably go 1, the first one, and then maybe the first one, then Rogue Nation, then Fallout, then 3, then 2.
Where's 4?
What about Ghost Protocol?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. You're right. Wow. Math is not my strong point here, people. Totally forgot the really important one with the, jumping out of the barge. Yeah, whoops. Ooh, okay, let's put the barge above, Ghost Protocol above Rogue Nation and Fallout. So 1.
Oh, wow. Okay.
First one, then Ghost Protocol, then Rogue Nation and Fallout are kind of on par for me as well, and then 3 and 2 are on par for me.
Okay.
Oh, that was a difficult
Great
question.
list. Great list. Yeah.
It's a great list.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was hard.
Well,
And
thank
obviously
you.
I'm gonna, 7 and 8 won't matter to me because I didn't work on them. So
Yeah.
actually, you know what? I will probably love them that much more for not working on them, because then I can just be an audience member. Sometimes you're watching these films and I can't watch the last one without going, oh, I remember that day on the plane. I'm there, which takes me out of the story. So that's, I usually have to wait a year to watch a film I've worked on, because otherwise it's just like a memory thing for me. I'm just watching going, oh, that day, and oh, I remember when that happened. And then you can't get into it. Then you can't get the thrills and the fear and the, so 7 and 8 will be great for me because I'll be able to watch them as a outsider. Brilliant.
And you have to tell Rebecca that you loved 7 and 8 regardless. So, there's that too. Oh, you were amazing, even if you didn't like it.
Oh, no. Our relationship is very different from that. It's my job to bring it down a peg.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, no, that one's shit. I'm just kidding. Oh, no.
If she ever did anything but amazing work, I would believe that. But
I think if she ever did anything but amazing work, she'd be the first to know it.
Right. Charles and I both loved Dr. Sleep, and particularly
Did
her
you?
in Dr. Sleep. Yeah. She was amazing.
She stood out in that
she's
one.
the
She
best
got
part of
rave
the movie.
reviews.
Yeah. She's so
she's
great.
incredible in that.
Next time you talk to her, tell her how much fun you had on this podcast. Though.
I will.
That's what you have to do.
I spoke to her yesterday, and I was like, I don't know what to say. It's been a while since we've been on set, and gosh, I don't. She was like, I'll be your lifeline if it gets really bad. Just talk about me or call me. I was like, okay, good. I'm ready.
We should have called her.
Yeah.
We can if you want, no problem. I don't know how I do that if I'm recording. You want me to?
You can put her on speaker, yeah.
Let's see. Hang on. How do I do this? Okay. Let's see if I can get her on FaceTime, and then maybe I can we'll see if she answers. She does. She's a 2-year-old. So.
That's right, because she was pregnant on Fallout, right?
We'll see if she picks up. She also might not let me turn the camera around if I caught her in her pajamas or something. Oh no, she might not be
No.
there.
Oh, bummer.
We tried.
Thank you so much for coming on the show with us. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, we're back. And she was a treat.
Yeah.
You know, she is so cool.
And we almost got Rebecca Ferguson.
Almost got. So, do we want to tell the story about what happened afterwards?
Well, yeah. So I think I'd have to look up the email, but because this is months ago now, but I'm pretty sure Chiabella emailed us afterwards to say that Rebecca Ferguson called back a little bit later and said, "Oh, she was so sorry to have missed us."
We were so close and yet so far away, but we still appreciate the effort. And, you know, we can't wait to see. She's not shooting the new movies, so we will not be, you know, privy to Chiabella photographs for 7 and 8, but we can't wait to see what she does next and how her career grows. And it's just so awesome. You know, David always said, like, he thinks that they're the only father-daughter team in this industry, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So,
and we love them both so much. They're both such great people. It was so fun to talk to them both. We might have them back together at some point.
Yes, we would love that. We would love to be in the same room with other people again.
Oh yeah, that would be wonderful.
What else should we talk about? What else can we tease? Charles, you want to tease anybody with anything?
Well, I can say that I think we've talked about this, but we can say it now officially. The next 2 weeks, you're going to get Dan Mindell, the cinematographer for MI3. This is a great interview we did. This one also a few months ago, and it's a doozy. Dan is super smart and awesome, and was so nice, and has a really funny, dry kind of sense of humor. So I really can't wait for people to hear that interview. It's a great one.
Yeah, he was awesome, and he loves Roger Guyette just as much as we do, which we didn't think that was possible, but somebody else, you know, loves him as much as we do. And yeah, I'm really excited about that. He's only our second cinematographer that we've talked to.
That's right. But Elswit shot 2 of the movies, so we've got 3 of the 6 movies down now.
But yeah, we get into a lot of really cool stuff with him, and yeah, we're gonna keep going. If you haven't signed up for the Patreon, I cannot stress enough how much you should be signed up for the Patreon, because we have new episodes every week. We have previews of upcoming episodes. We have commentary tracks on there, and we have a lot of fun stuff. We have more stuff that we are planning to do in the next few months and years, I'm sure. So please sign up for that. It is patreon.com/LightTheFuse.
Yeah, we've done some cool stuff on there lately. We did something about there was that bridge controversy that was in Poland that Christopher McQuarrie had to release a statement about. If you haven't heard about that, we talk about it. We have a whole episode about that on our Patreon. There's other stuff too. We always continue to do random episodes about just movies we love, and we recently did one about why we love Amy Heckerling, the writer-director, and in particular Clueless, because Clueless just had a big 25th anniversary. And then now we're going to do a fun one about, there's an alternate universe where Haley Atwell was going to play a different role in one of the earlier Mission Impossible movies. And so we'll be talking about that in a Patreon episode that we're about to record. So, yeah, check that out. And also get a shirt or a mug or phone case or whatever from our TeePublic store, which is linked from our website, LightTheFusePodcast.com. There's a merch section there that you'll find. And what else?
Well, you know, it really helps if you just like and subscribe to the podcast and rate it wherever you're listening to it. We got to get those numbers up. Carly Wiesel, who is a frequent guest on the show, just came out with a podcast, and she's just whooping our ass on the charts. So, you know, we gotta give her a run for her money. So please, you know, subscribe and say that, and also just tell people that you're listening, and just let people know that we're out there. And know that all of these contributions, make the show possible. So, if you could do that, it would be a huge help.
Yeah, and we, like all the shirt sales and everything all just goes to making this show possible. And we thank you all so much for every contribution you do. Even just a review or anything is really great. And with that in mind, I want to say a thank you to Derek Klingel. And I also want to give credit to Luke Burson, our mixer, and our intern, Abby Smith, for their help making this show possible as well. And thank you all for listening.
We'll be back next week.
Thanks again for listening, everyone. And before we go, another mission, should you choose to accept it. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. And remember that you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LightTheFusePod, and email us questions or comments at lightthefusepodcasts@gmail.com. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.